one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, the board today is debating the deletion of BP 3000, which is our anti-racism policy. Board policies and administrative policies go through shared governance. There's a lot of discussion before they're approved. This one was approved in 2021 after a lot of discussion, and it feels really inappropriate for a board to delete a policy without having a robust shared governance-based discussion. So we're here to explain to them why it's important to keep this policy and to engage the campus in a real conversation instead of trying to come and delete things and change the campus to fit their ideology without considering the students on campus, the faculty, the staff, the people who live here and have been here for years and years and years.
Well, I'm here today because I'm the president of the Council of Classified Employees, and I always do a public comment for our union. And one of the reasons I'm here is that our public comments got pushed to the end of the agenda, and so I'm doing two comments. I'm doing a open comment. Our union's also reading a resolution. I'm not reading, but it's about BP 3000. So there's the deletion of the BP 3000 is on the board agenda. So that's very important to us to stand in opposition and to highlight that it's really important for students to feel safe, and students and the community in general.
Good evening, members of the governing board, President Starr, faculty, staff, and fellow students. My name is Jaron, and I'm a student here at Palomar College. I'm here tonight to express my concern about the proposal to delete BP 3000, Palomar College's anti-racism policy. I cannot stay silent while a policy that affirms fairness, inclusion, and respect for all students is at risk of being terminated. BP 3000 isn't just a policy. It's a promise that Palomar College recognizes the history of systemic racism in our country and is committed to being a part of the solution. Deleting this policy sends a message, intentional or not, that safety, equity, and belonging are no longer priorities at this institution.
Well, I'm here to speak in support of the board's proposal to remove the anti-racist policy, BP 3000, I believe.
Could you further expand on what BP 3000 is?
Well, yeah. So the purpose is noble, to fight against racial discrimination. However, the solution, anti-racist, is not the way to fulfill that purpose. The reason is anti-racist itself is a loaded term, and itself is racist. Yeah. So the reason is, I will quote Ibram Kendi. He is the father of the anti-racist theory. And he said, the only remediation to the past discrimination is present discrimination.
I hope they don't delete it, as it protects a lot of students, and education should be protected. And if our students aren't protected, then it inhibits their education.
We're told that we are biased and racist because we endeavor to build programs to support all of our disproportionately impacted students. But here you are, our governing board, championing equity programs for some part-time faculty, women in law enforcement, and our service members, but decrying equity programs for all others as bias and racism. I will posit that possibly showing some bias might be you, board. We all want equity for everybody, groups we identify with and groups we don't. You seem to want equity only for some, seemingly only the groups you identify with or those that you support and no others. You seem to want preferential treatment for some. We want equitable treatment for all. I hope you'll honestly reflect on that before tonight's presentation, because this is not an attack on you. I'm saying this to you because we need your help. We need you on our team, and you are so close to really actually getting the point of equity. There's a storm out there, and we need you with us, not against us, so you can stand between us and the storm or stand beside us as we face it together.
I was a member of the Professional Development Committee when BP 3000 was adopted in January of 2021 in the wake of the rising hate and violence towards Black, Asian, Jewish, Hispanic, Latino, and LGBTQ plus communities. This campus community spent countless hours crafting a policy that boldly declared our opposition to racism and white supremacy. This policy is our collective voice, the promise that Palomar College is and will remain a safe and inclusive place for our students, employees, and community. At a time when democracy itself is under attack, when voices for justice are being silenced, voting to delete this policy exposes a board majority that behaves like wolves in sheep's clothing, appearing harmless while taking actions that harm the very people this institution is meant to serve.
I am a cis white woman. I am able-bodied, educated, I hold privilege. And there is nothing in this policy that takes anything away from me. Supporting others does not mean I am unsupported. Protecting others does not mean I am unprotected. Equality does not mean that my rights are infringed upon. I am not any less safe because these words exist. But deleting these words would leave a group of students, faculty, and staff, especially those already marginalized, less safe, less seen, and less valued. Words matter.
Rights. We'll give them the name of every trustee who votes to get rid of this protection. Today it begins with racism. Tomorrow classism and elitism follow, undoing the work that has been fought for, pecking away at the rights of everyone. This is just the beginning. Trustee Hamilton Bleakley, rest assured that your fellow part-time faculty are watching. If you do this, you are opening doors to inequality we are struggling to close. As a philosopher, you know that justice is not just an idea we admire, but a practice we must live. As a mother, you know that every child deserves the safety to grow and learn and think for themselves. And as a woman of faith, you know that God is a God of justice. Today is a day to activate your scholarship, faith, and mercy. Do what's right to protect those that can't protect themselves. God doesn't like ugly and he doesn't like injustice. Step carefully.
I highly urge the board to reconsider the proposed deletion of VP 3000. While I understand that there are perceived issues and liabilities surrounding the policy, I firmly believe that trying to get rid of the problem in its entirety is not the right decision. When it comes to political issues, especially as emotionally charged as this, going back not only implies that these are no longer values that we as an institution uphold, but also, that this implies that these are no longer values that we as an institution uphold, regardless of whether or not it creates any real differences in our practices. It is a precedent that I urge the board to take extreme care in discussing. As a student, I fear the implications of removing the anti-racism policy will have impacts far beyond what the board might expect. As a student trustee, I try to bridge the gap between us and my peers, and I have brought this issue to my peers, community members, staff, and I have attempted to be as non-biased as possible, represent both sides fairly, and not a single person was in support of its removal. Students were concerned, confused, and disappointed when hearing about this issue.
I just want to add that I appreciate the intent behind BP 3000, and when it was adopted in 2021, I don't think a single person in this room, online, in the community, would disagree that discrimination is something that we want. It is a positive thing. It's something we want to see. I think everyone would agree that it's wrong. We don't want racism. I don't think anybody here, I think we all agree on that. We all agree that racism is bad, that discrimination is not acceptable. That is not what we're talking about here. We're not safe. I think we all agree. And I see you shaking your heads, and I agree that everyone who spoke today spoke to keeping the board policy, but not everyone who's here had the opportunity to speak. So we did have a time limit. There are people online who also didn't have the opportunity to speak. And so please take that into consideration when we say that everyone who spoke was just in favor of of keeping it. And everyone who shared was just in favor because everyone didn't get to speak.
Been on this board a while now. It's time for us to get to the business of education. You know what? We have spent so much time on these other items that don't help our day-to-day outcomes and what we need to do to have a long-term, healthy, viable organization in college. We have to start thinking bigger picture. We have to.
I know I'm speaking out of turn.
You just need to ask for
Can't
permission.
do
That
that.
would be the chair's discretion.
She just asked for comment, so.
She asked.
But honestly, to keep this brief, a lot of points have been hit directly on the institutions that did get rid of this particular thing at their institution. You said the University of Florida. It don't get much more racist in Florida. North Carolina. You know, literally the institutions that you mentioned besides the University of Michigan, ironically, they're all in the Southeast. Those are all Confederate states. Okay, so, and that's why this institution should continue to keep it so that the rest of them can join with us. So
We can't do this. We have a protocol for how the meeting is, and we have rules regarding how the meeting is run.
At the beginning of the meeting, that was out of order as well.
Violated the Brown Act.
It wasn't on the
Trustee
agenda
invited
2
comment.
times in a row.
Ask us for input.
Don't ask if you don't want it.
I'm gonna call to order right now.
I'll just quickly say that I'm very conflicted at this point, mostly because I am, while I know this will result in, hopefully, in something that probably a resolution, probably something else, but my personal conflict is in removing a board policy instead of just amending it. And I've lost that vote. I get that. I'm not rehashing that. But I personally, I know this is probably a okay compromise, but I think I would have to vote no on this at this point, in good conscience.
A motion to remove BP 2000, create a subcommittee to explore other options that address the concerns predicated upon BP 2000.
All right, seeing no other commentary from the board, Matt can call for the vote, please.
Student Trustee Freeman Advisory Vote.
Could I have a moment,
Yeah.
please? Thank you. Aye.
Okay. Trustee Pataxel.
No.
Trustee Kaiser.
Yes.
Trustee Acosta.
Yes.
And Trustee Hamilton Bleakley.
Yes.
And Trustee Rodriguez.
No.
Motion is approved.
Is approved, which means there's the removal of BP 2000, and you will create a subcommittee to explore other options.